So, what do you think the steps would be to bring a brand new online class and get it actually approved? So, you had talked about like you thought the IT department could probably support Blackboard. What other things would I need to do to like get something approved?
Well, I mean, I think it's just like a normal class. I mean,
Okay.
if you had an idea,
Mm-hmm.
you would go to your director of education and say, I've got this idea for a class,
Okay.
but I'd like to have it online. So I think that's the normal way. And then, he would have you develop an outline and probably while you're at it, probably make sure it's A to G approved too, because that's the way that it's kind of goes.
Okay, explain what's
Right.
A to G. What?
Oh, okay. Okay, so UC California
Yes.
system has A to G requirements, and so in order to encourage some students to take the classes,
Mm-hmm.
they would be looking for those A to G classes because they give them some credit and they give them the
Oh,
ability to. Yeah, so
okay.
that seems to be the big push,
I guess I
more
was
so than.
thinking more of like in our program, in our ROP program, would it be the same or would it be different?
So students would take would be encouraged to take the classes because not only do they get the class, but they get some benefit towards if they're planning to go to UCs or
Sure.
Cal State. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
The stepping
I
stone.
mean,
Okay.
and it's not that the ROP pushes that, but it's just, it's what the parents want and what the comprehensive school sites want to see also.
Yeah, I get
Mm-hmm.
that. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Let's see. And so since it sounds like you're thinking a class is a class and therefore it would be compensated the same way or
I
different?
think I think it probably would be different. So now I'll put on my financial head and think about that because I've worked and I've had teachers work on a per student basis. And so what that looks like is, there's maybe a 10-week class or a 12-week class, and they're paid a flat fee per student.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or, yeah, or, you say 1 to 5 students, it's this price. Any students above that, then you get paid per student. So those are a couple of different models.
Okay.
Because you can't go with the hours because you're teaching online
Right.
and you might be, just like you're being a regular teacher, right? You don't
Yeah.
exactly
We,
get
we,
paid
we,
for
we
eight
can
hours
get
a
real
day.
serious about like hourly. Yeah, the whole like
Right.
5 hours, 6 hours plus a prep and you're done. You're like,
Right.
right. You
Right. No, that's
not.
like a 24/7 a 24/7 job basically, because even when you're not teaching, if you're on the internet, you're thinking about,
Oh
oh, how
yeah.
could I bring that resource back
Next
to the class.
lesson. What time? Yeah, do I need to get up early so extra early so I can go and do the grocery shopping? And oh, yes, for sure. What do I have in the fridge that I can use that I need to use?
Right.
It? Yeah, like literally I did that today. I went, "Oh my gosh, the recipe we're going to make with all the eggs, we didn't end up making for a number of
Okay.
reasons. Okay, gotta have a recipe with lots of eggs. Haven't done French toast with them yet. Okay, good,
There
good.
you go.
Next one. So then,
Well, by the
yeah.
by the way, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed your business class too,
Oh,
and
good.
the group did as well.
Oh,
So that
good.
was great.
Good. And
Good.
it's funny because people are like, oh, you're just doing this for them. No, I actually do that particular lesson. I've
Uh
done it with
huh.
every single semester and class, and they
Oh,
love it. They have a really good
yeah.
time with it.
It
I,
was
I have the prior pictures as proof, really.
right. Well, the chair of the WAS committee does professional development.
Oh, really?
And so she's retired, so she goes to different schools and
Hmm.
conducts professional development. And she says, I use that, but when she said when she did it, she used marshmallows and
Yes.
sticks. So Still that idea if you can make it work.
Yeah.
But it was great. The energy was really good. They were impressive, as was I.
Oh, good. Yay. Well, especially because I couldn't be there yesterday for the
Mm-hmm.
meeting, so I was especially worried. I'm like, oh man, I hope that went
No,
okay.
it's fine. I mean, I'm saying we because I've been in enough classrooms, I've been on committees, and I just like to see that students are engaged,
Yeah.
and they really were. So,
Yeah.
you passed the test with
I
flying
did.
colors, so good
Yay.
job.
Thank you, thank you. I tried to make us all look good. I mean, me looking
Yeah,
good's good too.
yeah. So, yeah, everything worked out fine. The report was just fine when
Good.
they reported out today. No issues at all.
Okay, good. I was a
Yeah.
little worried with what Cliff said. Something about there's like stringent or intensive things, but he expected that, and I was like, what is he talking about?
So they had some issues with data collection, and that is not unusual for an ROP.
Yeah.
Now, you're talking about folks who came from comprehensive districts. They
Right.
collect data in a different way than we do.
Sure.
It's hard to, just about any ROP you go to, it's hard to get relevant data that you can really do something with.
Yeah.
It's more you're collecting data in your individual class to inform what you're going to teach. But as far as globally, what classes are we going to offer? That's what they were talking about. That you can't. It's hard to connect that. So
We had that discussion in our group of like, we don't do this. It doesn't make sense. The whole
right,
data across all of the classes, when the classes are
right,
so wildly different as they should
right,
be, it
right.
doesn't make sense to have that kind of
It
data,
doesn't.
and therefore
Yeah.
to even request it. And I understand it's just part of the WASC
Right.
paperwork makeup, but
Right.
it doesn't make any sense for our program. So we can get hammered on something there's just nothing we're going to be able to do about.
Yeah, and you have that issue when you're dealing with the committee
Yeah.
that does not have ROP experience. They had adult education experience, but
Yeah.
adult education is tied to K-12, and it's also very assessment driven. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. The amount of
but,
benchmarks my children have to do, and
mhm.
they're in an alternative continuation high school. I
Okay,
mean, I'm sorry, an alternative charter school. I mean,
charter
so
school. Okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm still surprised, even though they are
Hmm.
project based and they're doing all
Right.
those things.
Right.
Still,
Well,
it's
I
still
mean, I'm
there.
sure when you tie data collection to funding, you find a way to
Yeah.
do it, right? So
True
that's
enough.
probably what's
Well, that was one of
that's
the
probably.
questions that in the paper that I'm writing, that's, in terms of the class that I'm doing, is
Hmm.
that they've shown that kids that take CTE classes,
Hmm.
any CTE class,
Hmm.
that they have a much higher graduation rate,
Right.
they have a much lower dropout rate, but they've
Right.
also got an increased um, income rate.
Hmm.
And
And
that continues on for years. And
right.
it doesn't matter the class they took, just that they took a
Right.
CTE class. 7 years later, they're still making almost 2% more than anybody else that's
Right.
right alongside them.
Right.
And
And the
so
other
I was
part
like,
is
is there a way to actually follow those students, my business students, and find out, do they do better in business? Do they do better
well,
at getting the jobs, at getting the interviews? And yet my classes are so small, the data set would be
right.
minuscule.
Right. And
So,
so that's what the committee is kind of looking at. It's like, can this ROP figure out a way to track those students, all the students?
yeah.
The other thing, that is known statistically is that kids who take CTE classes, if they choose, do go ahead and go on to college as well.
Mm,
So
yeah.
there's a high percentage of that. But I've talked about this for years that if we could, if ROP could speak the same language as the K-12s, it would be really a really good relationship. But we happen to enjoy a good relationship with the districts anyway. But
True.
yeah.
And I totally get wanting to speak the same language, and I also think that starts to get into some of the weird Common Core stuff, which is a whole nother very, very strange
Yeah,
ball of wax.
it is. It
And
is.
there's part of me that finds, again, it's again one of those like requesting data and requesting pieces that aren't our focus because they shouldn't be our focus.
Right.
It's that's a really challenging, weird, like funky line,
Right.
and
Well,
that's fairly new.
yeah, when I did my my admin program at Cal State East Bay, I was the only ROP teacher in the cohort. So they looked at me like, but I spoke up every opportunity I got, but it was just so foreign to them. And, what I really ended up saying is that, you can have all this data, but really the closer you approach to individualized education, that's the key. But you can't possibly do that. You can't take a set of data and say, oh, this is how every student learns. No, it's close to individual. And I think CTE bridges that gap. By all the hands-on stuff. So, but I was an alien for that. Yeah, but they just. But then, I mean, really, they, a bunch of my cohort members kind of thanked me because they like, we never thought about it that way. And I go, well, if we could just work together, the academic teachers and the CTE teachers, you'd really have something in terms of student learning. Now, let the academic folks track all of that.
and within Conley, I've done that a little bit, where like for Pi Day, for in all the math classes and the econ classes, we brought pies that had, some of them actually had the pie sci on it, and yeah, so the culinary program did Pi Day, and then the biology class came through my class, and I gave them lots of different spices and herbs to smell, because they were doing a whole thing on, I think, the I don't know, respiratory system and senses and smells and all that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.